There are 40 money-making books that have really stuck with me. So in this video, I'm going to condense all of these books into the core lessons that will actually make you rich. And no, I'm not just saying this, I have experience doing it. I've gone from absolute zero to making tens of millions, and I didn't make my money on YouTube like most people on here. I did it running real businesses. So I promise that the things I'm going to share with you today will take you from $0 to $100,000. 100,000 to $1 million, and $1 million to $10 million if you apply them correctly. Level 1, going from 0 to $100,000. First, you need to master your mind. I didn't come from a wealthy background, and during my youth, I vividly remember people saying the phrase, money is the root of all evil. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind explains how these phrases program us to believe that rich people are the devil. It took me a long time to rid myself of the negative feeling in my stomach when I thought about making money. If I'd have read this book sooner, it would have helped me realize this issue earlier. Once I got over this hurdle, I had to ask myself, what is money actually for? For me, the answer was freedom. The psychology of money puts it a little differently and says it's all about control, but I suppose the goal is the same, to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. It also touches on how there's a clear difference between the rich and the wealthy. Wealth is what you don't see. The car's not purchased, diamonds not bought, renovations postponed, clothes forgone, and first class upgrades declined. Unfortunately, many people don't even believe that they can become wealthy. I remember my school friends saying things like, I hope I can get an okay job when I graduate. They weren't even hoping for a good one. The magic of thinking big explains that people are setting their finish line too soon and therefore never have a shot at being successful. While I don't believe that thinking big alone will make you successful, it's certainly the first step. I always struggled in school and felt like a failure. Interestingly, when I left and started working in the real world, I found that I kept winning. This was probably because I chose jobs I had an interest in rather than learning things I didn't care about at school. The winner effect talks about actual studies to back up this phenomenon. The book discusses how positive correlation has been found between successful stock market traders and their testosterone levels. Furthermore, winning increases the testosterone receptors in your brain, which causes you to win more in the future. That's why it's important to set those achievable goals and get those little wins every day. I believe that my struggles in school and my strong drive for success had a positive impact on my life. They left me with no other option but to push forward. Think and Grow Rich tells the story about a great commander. Despite being outnumbered by a far superior enemy, he burned his army's own ships, leaving them with no escape plan. This forced his soldiers to fight with everything they had, resulting in a miraculous victory against all the odds. It just shows there's a big difference between wanting to succeed and needing to. Being comfortable is just as harmful as having an escape plan. During a chat with Andrew Tate, he referred to this as one of the Matrix's tools. Unscripted also presents this idea. The author argues that society aims to transform us into model citizens, which stands for mediocre, obedient, dependent, entertained and lifeless. Avoiding this fate depends on how well you can manage stress. The essence of success gives us a helpful perspective on this. The book mentions that all the water that forms a fog that's 100 feet deep and 7 city blocks wide can fit into a small glass. Whenever I feel stressed, I like to imagine drinking this water and using it as fuel. Now you can develop great habits. Stress can also come from factors outside our control. For this reason, I've made a conscious effort throughout my life to only focus on things that I can directly impact. Atomic Habits reveals that many people fixate on the end goal, which they have no control over, rather than the process of achieving it, which is completely in their hands. I found the author's habit stacking technique to be particularly helpful for forming new habits. It involves pairing a new habit with an existing one, so both are completed at the same time. However, most people just keep putting things off and never form good habits. I know far too many people who just go through the motions without any direction, and before they know it, time has run out. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People stresses the importance of always knowing where you're going and thinking about how you want to be remembered. I know this provides me with extra motivation, but this is only one part of the equation. The 12-week year suggests treating a year as 12 weeks to create a sense of urgency. This really hit home for me, as I know I work best under pressure. Although short-term pain is often necessary for long-term gain, it can be difficult to remember this when faced with challenges. The art of getting things done emphasizes the importance of not relying on your brain to remember all your tasks. Instead, capture them on a phone or a notepad. This way you can organize your tasks without getting them confused, and you can also be selective with how you spend your time. Essentialism reminds us that for every task we say yes to, we have to say no to many others. Therefore, it's important to value yes and not be afraid to say no. After adopting these habits, you should start building high value skills. I've previously said that I don't like the advice, follow your passion. However, So Good They Can't Ignore You takes it one step further. The author interviewed many people who loved their jobs. He found that most of them didn't initially have a passion for their work. Rather, as they improved, their love for their work grew. So what skills should you start building if you aren't necessarily following your passion? The unfair advantage suggests that to succeed in an unfair world, you need to play to your natural strengths. Find what you're better at than most people and lean into it. However, it's no longer enough to just possess high value skills. Artificial intelligence is rapidly replacing many jobs. I'm using it more and more in my various businesses to complete simple tasks. That's why the ideas shared in Mastery are more important than ever. My main takeaway was that you need to develop a unique stack of skills that is nearly impossible to replicate. Still Like an Artist echoes this point when it suggests to copy from multiple inspirations until you have a mix that is truly original. Having this unique skill stack will give you the ability to earn a high income. However, that still won't mean you can build wealth without understanding the basics of personal finance. When I was younger, I had a mentor named Dave who taught me about how the rich manage their money. The biggest lesson I learned, which is also shared in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is that everything we buy is either an asset or a liability. To figure out which one it is, we simply have to ask ourselves, is it putting money in our pocket or taking it away? Of course, if you want to be wealthy, the aim should be to buy as many assets as possible. But lots of people don't see the value of investing. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have $3 million now or a penny that doubles every day for 31 days? The correct answer is the penny, because it actually turns into $10.7 million. The compound effect uses this analogy to demonstrate the power of investing and gaining compound interest. Once most people get their head around this, they get very excited but end up jumping into the markets without really understanding anything. That's what happened in the pandemic. Everyone thought they knew what they were doing, but it was just a massive bubble waiting to burst. That's why I've always followed the principles laid out in the little book of common sense investing. It states that trying to beat the market is a losing game. Instead, you should own the entire market. You can do this by investing in something like the S&P 500 or a broad market index fund. Interestingly, over a 35-year period, only 1% of mutual funds could beat the market by 2%. This means that index funds are a clear choice for the average investor. Although, as I do find them pretty boring, I also like to invest in more interesting stocks with a smaller part of my money. Whenever I do this, I keep in mind that the market is irrational. As the intelligent investor puts it, you should imagine a person coming to your door every day called Mr. Market. One day he may offer you $2,000 for your stock and the next only $500, even though the company may be doing better than ever. This is because the price of the stock is based on demand and not the actual real world value. I only buy stocks if I'm prepared to ignore what Mr. Market says for a long time. Another phrase I live by is, if you love the store, chances are you'll love the stock, which was shared in One Up on Wall Street. This means if you've got a lot of experience of a company or product, you might actually have a bigger advantage than the pros when it comes to investing. Before we get to the next level, I have to make one thing clear. Reading books on investing can provide you with theoretical knowledge, but to truly succeed in investing and build wealth, you need to put that knowledge into practice. So if you are going to invest, you need to make sure that you're using a tool that provides you with all the necessary information to make informed decisions. This is where today's sponsor Moo comes in. If you're interested in building wealth, then you're really going to want to listen to this. It's a powerful investing platform founded in Silicon Valley with over 20 million users worldwide. You can trade stocks straight from your laptop, iPad or smartphone, whether in the United States, Australia or Singapore. You also don't have to worry about commission fees and account minimums. I personally really like the free tool they offer, which allows you to see what famous institutions are investing in and what sectors are performing best. As a beginner, you can also practice your trading ideas with a demo account before entering the market. If you sign up today using the link in the description, you can receive up to 15 free stocks, each worth between $3,000 and $2,000. That's an amazing deal. These free stocks can help you start building your investment portfolio right away. Level 2. $100,000 to $1 million. Now that you've fixed all your internal beliefs, to make the next leap, you'll need to know how to generate more value than you can from just selling your time. We're taught to go to school, get good grades, and then get a high-paying job. However, when you do this, your earning ability is capped. Cashflow Quadrant outlines 4 distinct ways to earn money. E for employee, S for self-employed, B for business owner, and I for investor. Business owners and investors have the advantage of using other people's time and money to build their wealth. That's why it's crucial to move to the right side of the quadrant if you want to become rich. But what does it really mean to be rich? Well, the 4-hour work week explains this best when it says that relative income trumps absolute income. To understand this statement, let me ask you a question. An investment banker earns $500,000 per year working 80 hours a week. On the other hand, an e-commerce entrepreneur earns $40,000 per year but only works 4 hours per week. Who's richer? If we look solely at absolute income, then the banker is clearly making more money. However, if we consider the time worked, the banker earns $120 per hour, whereas the entrepreneur earns $200 per hour. To take it one step further, the entrepreneur can actually already live the retired life that the banker dreams of, as he can operate from anywhere in the world. I'll take the entrepreneur route any day of the week. 0 to 1 states that the first step to starting a business is betting on a contrarian truth. This is the basis for most successful businesses. For example, Netflix had to bet on the fact that people wanted to binge watch TV shows at home, and Airbnb had to believe that people would be willing to stay in a stranger's house. For many people, the biggest hurdle is coming up with an idea. However, this is often easier than you might think. Disrupt You outlines an effective method, which is to write down 3 things that annoy you every day and think about how they could be done better. By doing this, you'll have 90 ideas to consider each month. When you have an idea, don't be afraid to share it with people that can help you. People tend to be too protective of their plans, but the truth is that an idea alone is usually not that great. The lean startup emphasizes the importance of execution and the use of the build, measure, learn feedback loop. This approach ensures that you don't create something nobody wants and allows you to pivot and adapt your idea as you go. There was an interesting study conducted on 108 new businesses across 30 industries. Out of these, 92 businesses chose to enter red oceans, while 16 adopted a blue ocean strategy. A blue ocean refers to a market that has little to no competition, while a red ocean is named so because of the fierce competitions between competitors. The study found that 39% of profits came from businesses in competitive markets, while 61% of profits came from those that used the blue ocean strategy. Furthermore, these businesses went on to dominate their industries for 10 to 15 years after launch. A good strategy for creating your own blue ocean is to become oversubscribed. Consider Ferraris. Many people want them, but not everyone can have one. Yet the people that run Ferrari aren't losing sleep over this, as they know that this scarcity keeps demand high and the car's highly desired. Every oversubscribed product has people who are willing to buy it but can't get their hands on it. When I'm driving up demand for my products, I always remember the core lesson from Breakthrough Advertising. This book is actually the most expensive book in the video. It states that you can't manufacture desires. Instead, your job is to create a product that fulfills you to think a little bit differently from everyone else. I mean, most people use their phones as a distraction, endlessly scrolling TikTok, killing their brain cells and becoming a slave to the system. This means that not only does using your phone correctly give you an advantage, it's actually putting others at a disadvantage. Okay then, but how do I use it correctly? Well, in order to cash in, I've put together 8 different tips so that you can spot opportunities while you're young and use the tools that you have at your disposal. Tip 1, meditation. Only joking. I'm not going to make some boring video about meditation and journaling. Let's be real, that's not going to make you a millionaire. But what will is. Tip 1, realising there's so much fucking money out there. You have to really understand this, because if you don't, the harsh reality is you're going nowhere. You'll be one of those middle-aged people that never made it. You know, the ones that blame everything on everyone for their misfortune. Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's the blooming recession. You've got to face up to what's going on instead of wasting your early years wrapped up in excuses. But that's not you, and it certainly wasn't me. Even as a teenager, I knew that money was everywhere. I would always see people with cash on their hip, nice cars and luxury homes. Instead of being angry about what other people had, I understood that there was enough wealth out there for me, and instead of hating on the rich and wealthy, I decided to learn from them. Hanging out with my mentor, a guy called Dave Monk, got me involved in a lot of high-level conversations, and seeing how the guys with money acted was so valuable. Believing there is so much money out there will really help you to focus on your goals and take responsibility for your own success. Just think, someone owns all of these buildings. And thinking like this can also allow you to celebrate the success of others and learn from their achievements rather than feeling threatened by them. You really don't have to reinvent the wheel to get rich. All you need to do is position yourself somewhere money is flowing. Just think how crypto was a huge craze in 2021 and how many people made fortunes, not by investing in it, but by launching their own projects. They didn't create the technology of crypto. However, they did notice the money pumping into the space and benefited from it. Sadly, most people don't realize that there's lots of money out there waiting to be claimed, and therefore will never spot these kinds of opportunities. Many even feel like they have to be really lucky or come up with a completely new business idea. In reality, it's so much more simple than that. Successful people often just identify a business that has worked really well in the past and then add their own unique twist to it. Think Uber. I mean, taxis have been around for years. It took Uber just to make it easier and cheaper for everyone to use them. Everything stems back to the core belief that money is everywhere, and once you let go of the idea that money is scarce, everything changes. Tip 2, don't focus on saving. This is the opposite to what many of these online gurus will tell you, but honestly, most of them have made their money the slow way. Believe it or not, I'm actually the opposite. Even though I'm old and grey, I was a millionaire in my 20s and I've lived a fantastic life and I haven't deprived myself of much. I mean, in my life, I've travelled to almost every country on the planet, become a pilot, was a champion race car driver, competed for my country in world championships, and built multi-million-dollar businesses. Have I been silly with my money? No, but I have used it strategically and had lots of fun along the way. When online gurus talk about investing $50 per week from the age of 16 into the S&P 500 at an average return of 7% per year, leading to you having over $1 million by the age of 65, I think they believe this actually excites people. Newsflash, it doesn't. But what should excite you is the free stock worth between $3,000 and $1,000 that public.com are currently giving you once you sign up and fund your account. I'll leave that link down below if you want to pick that up. Most people want to enjoy their money while they're young, just like I did. Don't get me wrong, of course it's very important to start investing small amounts when you're young and not leaving it until the last minute. But ideally, this should be money you don't even notice leaving your bank account and not your lifelong plan to become a millionaire. Investing all of your baby money into the stock market or something you can't control is the worst move that you can make, as it locks up all of your money for testing out side hustles and business ideas. Those are the real ways to make big money. Now, having an emergency fund of 6 months living expenses does take the edge off, and it allows you to take calculated risk without worrying too much. So I'm not fully against saving, I'm just against hoarding cash, as I've never known anyone to make a lot of money in their younger years when they take this approach. So the truth of this lies somewhere in the middle. Use both the fast and the slow lanes. Don't be a prolific saver that denies himself a Starbucks coffee if that's what makes you happy. If you put savings over small things that make your life more enjoyable, then you are giving your money too much power over you. But equally, don't go splashing your cash on pointless things and leave yourself with nothing to invest in your future. Pick what matters most to you and use your money strategically. Tip 3, quit drinking. Look, I get it. When you're young, drinking is almost a rite of passage. But if you follow what most people do, then you get what most people have. Nothing. As a senior guy, I can tell you from experience, as you get older, you don't have as much energy. Honestly, I'd give up all my money to have a young body again. It's your greatest asset, and if that doesn't illustrate how valuable it is, then nothing will. I say this because most people waste years of their life drinking. This makes zero sense to me, as alcohol is a depressant. Why numb your brain and your body when it's at its peak performance? Personally, I've never been much of a drinker. I realised early on that having the balls to say no gave people a lot more respect for me, and I found enjoyment in other much more productive hobbies like golf. I know a lot of people will say they just want to have fun, and I get that, but first fix the money issue. Get as much of it as you can, and then you can drink as much as you want, but you'll probably find you still want to keep growing your wealth. Once you realise how much fun it is having money and the freedom it gives you, you'll unlock a whole new level to life. Drinking is just an expensive way to distract yourself from the bigger picture whilst losing time, and on top of that, how can we forget the best part? Feeling terrible the next day. What better way to hold you back from your dreams? Once I'd achieved my goals, I loosened the reins a little and have the odd cold beer now and then, but rarely do I have more than one or two. Yeah, no more than two, I fall over. Tip 4, buy a luxury watch. You might be thinking, why do I need a luxury watch in the 21st century when I can just check the time on my phone? I used to think the exact same thing. I've never been materialistic, which led me to overlooking watches, which now, knowing what I know, was a mistake. There are 3 main things a luxury watch can do for you. Firstly, it can spark conversations with other successful and wealthy individuals. This could lead to valuable networking opportunities and potential business partnerships. Another great way to chat with like-minded people is joining the free Strike It Big Discord group. I'll leave a link in the description below. Secondly, many luxury watches are considered valuable assets that can appreciate over time. If you invest in a high quality watch, it could potentially provide a solid return on investment. As with any investment, it's important to do your research and choose a luxury watch that has a good chance of appreciating in value over time. As a general rule, steel Rolex watches reliably hold or appreciate in value. This includes in particular the GMT Master 2 with its famous 2-coloured bezel, the Cosmograph Daytona, and the ever popular Submariner. Thirdly, they can be a great way to transport your wealth across borders. Now, technically, you do have to declare that you're bringing these into a different country. However, I bet the majority of people don't do this. If you entered another country with a wad of cash, then they'd probably ask you some questions. But I'm willing to bet that if you entered the same country with $1 million worth of watches, they wouldn't bat an eyelid. Just be careful where you wear these watches, as they're also very easy to steal. You have to learn to move in a different way. Don't get cocky and think you're untouchable, as someone is bound to pull up on a motorbike and take your watch from you. Trust me, luxury watches are not something to be overlooked, and even if the price goes down, you never really lose all of your money, and the status is worth it. Unlike Lambos. It's also getting progressively harder to buy a nice watch at retail price. If I'd started investing in watches earlier, I'd be sitting on a whole lot of equity. So building a good relationship with an authorized dealer while you're young is what future millionaires should be doing. Tip 5. Destroy your ego. There are so many arrogant people out there that think they know everything. They aren't interested in learning, even when someone more successful than them is spelling out the correct way of doing things. I mean, I was watching Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares the other day, and these restaurant owners were in dire need of help. Their business was failing, and they called in Gordon to turn their luck around. He came into their restaurant and tried to do exactly that, but their egos were so big that they couldn't take anything on board. It's actually shocking how stubborn some people are. Of course, be proud of what you do. However, you need to be able to separate pride from your ego. Take some time to self-reflect. Really go into the depth of your weaknesses and form a strategic plan of how to improve them. There are thousands of YouTube videos where experts teach you what you need to know for free. For example, if communication is a weak spot, then there are videos on public speaking and storytelling that you can take full advantage of. Now, learning high-value skills does more than just paying the bills. They compound into every aspect of your business and social life. I used to find what they taught in school to be boring and nonsensical. With my goals and vision, it just didn't make sense for me to waste my time learning about algebra and other things. So I went out and bought my own books about business. I used all my free time to teach myself all the basics of how to start and run a company. I then combined everything I learnt with my passion for RC models and started my own company, which went on to make millions and make me the man I am today. Tip 6, build a credit score. If you haven't got a trust fund, then you're going to need to leverage good debt in order to become a millionaire at a young age. And without a good credit score, that's going to be near impossible. I was told when I was younger this famous saying, never a borrower or a lender be, which is completely wrong. I have a feeling this was made up by powerful people years ago to stop you leveraging your way to success. Borrowing money can be one of the best ways to elevate yourself past your born class status. But due to my fear of debt, I never really took advantage of it. This is a personal regret of mine, and I wish I'd borrowed more when I was younger. It really could have helped me leverage my wealth much faster. Now, this isn't for everyone and takes a strong, clear mind to manage, but can work extremely well if done correctly. A credit score is basically a trust and reliability rating used by banks to judge the risk of lending you money. Think of it like this. If every time your mate lends you $5 and you give it back when or before you said you would, then there's a much bigger chance that your mate's going to lend you $100 if you ever need it, because he can trust you. A good credit score is priceless. In a millionaire when you're younger is far better. Take it from someone who's experienced both. And no, I wasn't born into a rich family. Quite the opposite. The odds were stacked against me. I was a ginger, working class kid without a penny to his name. So if I can build wealth in a relatively short amount of time, then you can too. This isn't going to be one of those generic videos about investing in index funds and getting rich when you're old and grey. I'm going to be taking you through the actual moments in my life where I uncovered the truth behind building wealth from nothing. From the moment you step foot into school, they try to control your ambition. And one memory that stands out to me was sitting in a lecture theatre just like this one. The teacher asked us to write down our dream job, our dream car and our dream house. I was really excited, so I wrote down business owner, Ferrari and mansion. She then said life is going to be tough, so I'm going to break the hard news to you now. You're probably going to have none of those things, so be realistic and lower your expectations. I thought to myself, of course I will. I'll have all of those things, and I've carried that attitude for the whole of my life. If you allow the system to crush your hopes and dreams, you'll never be able to create wealth from nothing. Look, this isn't some fluffy mindset BS. If you can't even believe something is possible, then how on earth are you going to do the work required to become wealthy? Most people give in to the pressure of being realistic and end up joining the crowd, and then they discourage the next generation from following their hopes and dreams. But you can decide to break the cycle, just like me in that lecture theatre. So if you want to do this, then you firstly need to be very careful about who you listen to. I'm not just referring to those fake gurus on social media. I'm also talking about the people in your life who give their unsolicited advice. While your friends and parents may have good intentions, if they haven't built a large sum of wealth, why would you listen to them when it comes to making money? Secondly, you need to learn to think from multiple angles when trying to solve problems. Most people will come across an obstacle that they've been told is impossible for them to conquer and give up at the first sign of trouble. The more you let these kinds of challenges beat you, the harder it is to break out of the herd, as you're cementing to yourself that you aren't good enough. Whenever I come across a challenge, I think of at least 10 different solutions and then decide on the best way forward. If one doesn't work, then I just try the next one and so on until I'm successful. Thirdly, you need to step outside your comfort zone. Look, if Harry Potter stayed in the cupboard under the stairs, then he would never have defeated Voldemort. Sorry for the spoilers, but it's so true. Putting yourself in challenging situations helps you grow and improve more than anything else I've ever experienced. When I first joined the workforce as a carpenter's apprentice, I was so excited. It was the job I really wanted to do. But unfortunately, the manager took a bit of a dislike to me and he bullied me practically every day, giving me all the rubbish jobs. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't take it anymore. I came home that night, sat on my couch, and I looked around the room and thought to myself, what have I got to lose? I've got no child or wife to look after. I'm 20 years old. I've got to make this decision. Sure, I'm scared of quitting a job. Of course you're scared. But I knew that was the best thing for me. So I quit the very next day. If you're young and have few responsibilities, it's a clear choice to take more risk to increase your income. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you should go and invest all your money in crypto. The risks should be calculated. Looking back, I didn't realise at the time, but the biggest risk in my life would have been staying at that dead-end job. For me, increasing my income meant starting my own business. However, if this isn't for you, you could always start a side hustle or upgrade your job every couple of years. Studies have actually found that you're more likely to build wealth faster by job hopping rather than staying loyal to one company. However, if your goal is to build wealth as fast as possible and you decide to pick the employee route, then you need to choose a career that isn't dependent on how many hours you work, but on the results you achieve. After lots of hard work and many sleepless nights, I managed to open my model shop. It was a huge success. I was reinvesting all of my money in the business to help it grow, that I didn't have time to think about investing. One day, I decided to take on a work experience lad for 2 weeks. And on the first day, all he kept banging on about was stocks and shares. And I thought, what does a 14-year-old know about stocks and shares? Anyway, he mentioned this one particular stock that he said was going to go to the moon. He said, I've got £1,000 and I'm going to pile it all in because I'm so confident. And I thought, well, if he's that confident, I think often you spend hours watching ads, testing websites, or filling out those useless online surveys. I mean, they only pay a few dollars anyway. What's the point? Instead, I'm interested in the big bucks, so I'm going to be grouping all my favorite online side hustles into 4 tiers. Of course, the faster you progress through those tiers, the more money you'll be able to make. I'm talking about generating at least $1,000 a day if you reach the top tiers. So if you're up for the challenge, click the like button to let me know. So let's start with the base tier. These are things you can just get on and start and do straight away without any skills. They're all about generating that fast money. So the first idea I have for you is flipping Instagram theme pages. These are pages that are focused on specific subjects. When I first heard that you can make money from flipping these, I was quite shocked. Back in my day, I had to buy actual physical products like cars, but now this actually makes complete sense. Just think about it. When was the last time you scrolled on Instagram and didn't see a sponsored post? They're everywhere, aren't they? This just shows brands are putting loads of money into Instagram adverts, which makes the pages more valuable. If I were you, I'd only buy pages with active followers and continue to grow them by posting regularly. I would pick a car theme page, as I used to race cars myself, so I know the niche has a big demand from advertisers. Here's my old crash helmet, custom painted with my logo, Tilbo Flying 7. Great days. Next up is selling items on Facebook Marketplace. This is such a great way to sell things without having to deal with postage or selling fees. Recently I had my backyard ripped up as we're having a total redesign and I was left with 400 heavy concrete slabs. Now I could either pay to have them taken away and dumped for me or find some sort of alternative option. And you know me, I don't like wasting money, so I put them up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I thought it's got to be worth a go, hasn't it? Later that day, my phone exploded with messages from people all over my area asking if they could come and get some of my slabs. I couldn't believe it. People came and removed my garbage and I didn't even have to lift a finger. The best part of all though, I made an extra $650 that day. A more long-term example is selling vintage clothing online, and one of my friends does exactly that. She finds them through poorly advertised eBay listings, and you can do a similar thing by using a website called Typo Hound. This is really cool because it looks through all of the misspelt items on eBay, so you can buy with a lower competition and get a great bargain. She cleans the clothes and does any repairs needed, then she dresses her mannequins so she can take great photos and she posts them on social media. You know what? It's so successful she struggles to get enough clothes. So if I can sell dirty paving slabs and my friend can sell second-hand clothes, I'm sure there is something in your house that you can sell and start making a profit. Next up is the mid-tier. This is all about going out and selling your skills. These online side hustles require more upfront work to begin with, but as you develop your skills, you'll be able to charge a lot more than the average person, as you're providing more value, and this of course equals higher pay. One of the things that comes to mind is being a social media manager for small businesses. I've actually just hired someone to help me post more on my Instagram. That reminds me, if you haven't already follow me, drop me a follow at Real Mark Tilbury for regular posts and updates. The person I've hired is great as she's able to look at the graphs and the numbers and tell me how everything's performing. All I have to do is supply the content, reply to you guys, and the rest is all taken care of. I found my social media manager through her own page. I could see how passionate and talented she was, and after a quick chat, I knew I had to hire her. So if you want to stand out, it's probably a good idea to imagine you are your first client by marketing your own social media accounts. If you spend time learning how to maximize your accounts, then you'll be able to offer your future clients a much better service. As you start working with more businesses, you can slowly up your prices, and before you know it, you'll be making more than $150 per day. Over 600,000 new businesses are started every year in the USA, and guess what they all need? A logo. So if you're a creative person, why not learn how to use photo editing software? Then you can use your skills to make money online through freelance graphic design. For this type of work, no one cares about your school grades. Instead, your past work acts as your qualifications. So it's really important to build a great portfolio to seal the deal with your clients. When hiring someone new, I feel more comfortable if they offer their services for free, as it reduces the risk for me and gives them a way to build their portfolio. I know that working for free sounds like a waste of time, but it's a great way to check out the competition and also see how to price your services. Once you have a solid portfolio, you can either go directly to your clients or offer graphic design services on websites like Fiverr that already have a huge marketplace. If you're good, there's no reason why you couldn't be earning $150 per day in your spare time. How about this next one? When everything locked down in early 2020, my son's girlfriend had a great side hustle as an online tutor, and it's still going strong today. Before the illness happened, I probably wouldn't have added this one to the list, as most people wanted in-person tutors. However, I really think the world has changed. If you're talented at a particular subject, it may be a great option to teach it online. She advertised her services on Facebook, and before she knew it, her DMs were full of potential clients. So if you find the right Facebook groups, the demand is sky high. The great thing about doing it online is that you cut out all the travel time, which means you can work with more people and earn more money. You also don't have to just work for people in your local area, as you can teach anyone anywhere in the world. If you're doing this in your spare time, you should be able to expect a good $50 plus per day. If you enjoy writing, then maybe you should try copywriting. This is the art of selling a product through writing. This is like being a salesperson, but reaching out to everyone. You can write sales pages, ads for Facebook, email newsletters, the list goes literally on. And the more you specialise in one specific area, the more you learn. I first learned about the art of copywriting when I read an amazing book called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. This book currently sells for over $200 a copy, and it's considered the holy grail in the copywriting world. This just proves how in-demand copywriter services are. If your writing is able to convince lots of people to buy, then you're able to justify charging really high prices, as effectively you're paying your own wages. This couldn't be more true than for the guy who took 3 weeks of studying to come up with the winning concept for a Rolls-Royce advert. The final headline read, "At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in a Rolls-Royce comes from the electric clock." It took him a while, but he managed to find a golden nugget that people still remember to this day. His skill with copywriting made him a small fortune. Now, no business can survive long without a good website these days, and most people are lacking the skills or the time to build one themselves. So if this interests you, then why not sell your web design services? I know 2 teenagers that decided to take up web design, and they went in 2 totally different directions. One decided he'd use website builders such as Squarespace, which means he only had to sort of edit really simple templates to build a basic site for his clients. The other decided to code bespoke websites from the ground up for larger clients that wanted something more original. Now, both are very successful at what they do, but they serve entirely different markets at different price points. You'd get paid more for a bespoke site, however, this takes a lot more time to learn. I'm going to be gifting her $1,000 as well as arming her with the knowledge she needs to take the plunge as a complete beginner investor so she can start her journey to becoming rich and financially free. There's an old saying, be the person you needed when you were younger, and that got me thinking, sometimes with investing, the hardest part is just making a start. So if you're thinking about investing but find the whole process a bit daunting starting or have started and want to find out some more, then this is the video for you. We're going to be going through everything step by step, from personal finances and taxes to investment strategies and actually setting up the core account. So make sure to watch to the end so you don't miss out on some great investment knowledge. We'll get started as soon as you hit that like button for the LTube algorithm. So Laura, what do you think when I say the word investing?
I get a little bit scared. I know it's the way to go. I'd love to learn a bit more about it and put my money in the best place, but if I'm honest, I don't really know much at all.
Well, it's normal to be a little bit scared, that's for sure. Judging by our analytics, not many girls are that into investing. Why do you think that is?
I'm not really sure why that is, but I'd like to learn a bit about it and show that it's possible for anyone to do, use it as a way to get rich.
Well, it's not all about getting rich, it's more about building your long-term wealth, but we'll get into that later.
What? I was here to get rich.
I'll tell you what I can do. How about this? I'm going to give you $1,000 to invest in anything you like.
That sounds really good, thank you. Let's get going.
I think we should. Let's dive in. People always say to me that they'll get good at managing their finances when they earn more money. But the truth is, anyone can go broke, even celebrities. You know, take Michael Jackson, for example. He was the king of pop with an estimated estate value of over $236 million when he died. But he left debts of over $400 million. So Laura, how would you say your finances are at the moment?
I'd say they're okay. I don't look into them too much. If I want to go out for a meal with my friends, I'll spend the money. But I do try to save about half of what I earn. I just don't really tend to track it.
Okay, well, tracking is a really good idea, and it's really easy nowadays to track your money using some of the apps that are available, and by tracking it you'll tend to spend less, so that's always good. But do you have any credit card debt or anything like that?
I don't. I spend my money on my credit card, but then I do pay it off every month.
That's great. You've been watching the videos, haven't you?
Yes.
It's always best if you use your credit card because it'll help you build your credit score. And if you pay it off at the end of every month, you're going to pay no interest whatsoever. And it's a win-win.
Oh, okay. So why is building your credit score so important?
Well, at some point in the future, you're going to probably want to borrow, be that for a house or for a business. You never know what you want to borrow for. And if you've got a good credit score, it's going to cost you a lot less in interest fees, and you're going to find it easier to borrow in the first place. So that's why it's so important to build a good credit score.
Oh, okay.
Taxes are something we should all care about, as at the end of the day, why would you want to give away more of your hard-earned money than you absolutely need to? When it comes to investing, in most cases, you are required to pay taxes on the profits that you make. This is called capital gains tax, and it's between 10 and 20% depending on your income. It's really important to minimize the tax you pay in these areas, so you're able to invest more for your future. And there are two really simple ways that you can take action. Now, the first is to open up a tax advantaged account, and the second is to start some sort of side hustle or business so you can write off all your expenses.
Why is a side hustle a good thing to have?
Well, it's all about when you pay your tax. If you get paid $100, for example, from work and you want to go out for a nice meal, well, it's all well and good, but you've already paid your tax, haven't you? So if that's 20%, $20 is already gone. Now, with a side hustle, you get your $100 and you want to go out for a meal, you can go out for a meal and you can then write that off. So when you come to pay your tax, you've got less money to pay your tax on, so you get taxed less.
Is that like bad?
No, it's 100% allowed because you're having a business dinner, you're talking business, and that business needs to be done over a dinner. So that is an allowed thing.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I have been thinking about doing a side hustle for a while now. I think that's always something I've wanted to do in the back of my mind, but I haven't actually got around to it. It's just deciding what I want to do. I've been thinking about a lot of things, like I love seeing how people can do like Gymshark modelling on the side and being a bit of an influencer. That sounds amazing to me.
It's extremely important to research any investment before throwing all your money in. So Laura, have you heard of any before, and is there anything you've invested in?
I haven't invested in anything. Obviously I hear a lot about like cryptocurrency and stocks and shares, but it's all like a completely different world to me and I don't know anything about it. But I know that my money isn't very good sitting in my bank account. I want to do something with it.
Well, your money sitting in your bank account is actually losing you money because you're probably earning about 0.1% interest per year, and that literally is nothing. And with inflation at more than that, around about 2 to 3% a year, that's actually losing value year on year.
I think the thing that I was looking at doing is buying a buy-to-let or something.
Okay, well, we can discuss that and run through the main investments which are good for beginners in order of least to most risky. So you can then decide what you want to do with that $1,000 I gave you.
Oh wow, okay. So the less risky it is.
Generally, the less reward.
Okay.
But the higher risk.
The better the reward.
Now, an index fund, simply put, is a basket of stocks. So instead of buying hundreds of different stocks separately and having to manage them all at once, you can buy into a simple, low-cost index fund.
Do you get to choose what stocks they are?
No, you don't get to choose what stocks they are, but you can choose from a lot of different index funds.
Oh, okay. And does it matter what country you invest in?
Back when I was younger, I might have gone for an index fund based in the UK. But of course, nowadays, with the invention of the internet, of course, these companies in America, they are absolutely global. So they're always looking for more growth, be it in China, Australia, wherever it happens to be. So by investing in these American companies, you've got a global player there, haven't you? And they're passively managed as well. So there's not a manager there, it's all done automatically. That's why the costs are so low.
If I invest all my money in like a risky one, could I then lose it all? And it sounds like a silly question, but could I lose more? Could I go in debt or something?
Well, when you invest, your capital is always at risk. You have to remember that, but hopefully over the long term it'll be good. Now, unless you leverage your money, you can't actually lose more than you invest. So if you invested, for example, $100, the most you can lose is $100. However, if you leverage your money and bought things on margin, then of course you could lose more than you actually invested.
Okay, what does leveraging your money mean?
Well, leveraging your money is when you borrow money against your investment, or it's also known as margin. So for example, if you invested in a share, say you wanted to buy $100 worth of shares, but they were offering you 2.5 margin, you could actually have another $250 to go with yours. So you'd actually have an investment of $350. Of course, then you could lose that whole $350. Next is investing in yourself with a side hustle or further education. This is a low risk because the power is in your hands. Starting a side hustle has limitless potential returns, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to build wealth. So does this sound like an option to you?
Yeah, it sounds really good to me. I like the idea of investing in myself, not just getting my nails done and eyelashes done, obviously, but doing things like university, but it's kind of, you don't see the return straight away.
So how have you found that coming from university into the workplace?
So I feel like just with my degree didn't get me a job. You have to have other employability skills as well, and a lot of places often want a lot of experience and a lot of time in things that I haven't had time to do. So I definitely see the value in investing in yourself and enhancing your skills to make you more employable.
You've also thought about and mentioned side hustles as well, so of course you can invest into that.
I do love photography, a bit of videography. My mum's friend had a wedding and she didn't have a photographer, so I hopped in last minute and managed to do that, do a bit of video as well.
And did you do that as a paid job?
I did it for a bottle of gin. So,
So you're cheap then, that's what you're saying, aren't you?
No, I did it for free.
Well, sometimes that can be a really good investment as well. When you do a job for free, you're building up a portfolio. And again, quite often you need to do 3 or 4 jobs to build that portfolio up. So when you do want to charge people, you can show them exactly how good you are. Next up, we've got individual stocks, which are a medium risk. An individual stock is investing into one specific company. For example, Amazon would be considered an individual stock. The returns can be higher as it brings more exposure to one investment, but stocks can go either way. So I only invest in individual stocks with high conviction.
So a stock with high conviction, does that mean that it's going to give you a big return and that's why you invest in those ones?
Well, what it means is that you've done your homework on the individual stock. You've looked into the fundamental analysis of the company, and you can see that it should give you a high return over the long term.
So fundamental analysis, that sounds a little bit complicated.
Well, actually it's not complicated at all, and you can find out all this information on Yahoo Finance, and you can pull up the company you're interested in and look at their balance sheets and things like that, and their profit and loss and where the company is going. And also it's important to look at the leadership of the company as well.
Okay.
Next we come to real estate, and I'm putting this as high risk for beginners, as real estate often requires a mortgage, which can mean taking on quite a substantial amount of debt. However, real estate is a great way to accelerate wealth and often performs really well during inflation.
I've always looked at Airbnb and I'd love to do that kind of thing.
If you're looking to do Airbnb, you've really got to make sure that that property can stand on its own without that platform, because by people like you selling on Amazon, $53.7 billion. This little dot represents the share of the profits you would need to claim in order to become a millionaire. When you zoom out, it looks like a drop in the ocean, but is it actually that easy? Well, if you believe the majority of the online gurus, then you would think yes. They like to sell you the dream of escaping your 9 to 5 and living on a beach, watching the money roll in, all by starting something called Amazon FBA. I want to get to the bottom of this. Is it a legitimate way to make money, or are these gurus making money just by teaching it? Now, it's no secret that over 40,000 people generate over $1 million per year on the platform. But are they making any profit? More to the question, is this something anyone can do and your golden ticket to millionaire status? Or is it all just a pipe dream? That's exactly what I'm going to be uncovering in the first episode of The Secret World of Passive Income Millionaires. Hi guys, it's Mark. So recently I can't escape the phrase Amazon FBA. I'm a massive fan of YouTube, as you all know, and on nearly every video I watch an advert pops up saying it's the key to becoming a millionaire, and fast. So of course I was intrigued, as I made my millions through running traditional businesses. The way I've always done it is to have warehousing, and I buy the stock in containers, bring it in from China or America or Europe, and we stack it out. And we're pretty much sold out at the moment. We're waiting for containers to come. The way Amazon FBA works is a little different. FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, meaning instead of having warehouses like me, you can just ship all the items off to Amazon and they deal with all the storage, the packaging and the sending out of all your items. So on the surface it sounds pretty great, yeah? I mean, less worries, lots of customers, what's not to like? Maybe it's something you could do as a side hustle and maybe make a little bit of money. But is it a long-term business? I'm just not convinced. If you're doing Amazon FBA successfully, then I want to hear from you. I want you to persuade me that this is more than a side hustle.
Mark, I'll take you up on that offer. I'll show you how these online businesses are taken over and how they can be so sustainable. As you can see, we don't play around with stock.
Here are my concerns. Imagine them as bowling pins. In order for me to change my mind, they're all going to have to be knocked down. Number one is the startup costs. Can anyone really start this business, or do you need a huge amount of cash to buy in products and then test them out? Number two is oversaturation and competition. Can it really be profitable in 2020? On one hand, the marketplace is massive, but also millions of people are selling similar products on Amazon. Number three is actually finding a winning product that sells well. With lots of other people searching for the next best thing, it must be incredibly hard to actually strike gold and find that one product that makes you millions. Number four is the amount of money Amazon take. As they're sending out all the orders for you, I imagine they take a pretty big slice of the profits. I don't have this expense, so I'm really interested to know if this is a problem. Number five is picking bad products. My worst nightmare would be storing lots of products in Amazon's warehouse and not being able to sell the stock. As time goes on, I imagine the fees are going to really add up. Number six, now this really is the big one, lack of control. I've always been in control of everything from manufacturing all the way through to shipping the product to my customer's door. But as Amazon take all the control of the selling and shipping, I would be concerned about losing all the information about my customers. I wouldn't want Amazon to shut me down and have to build up all those customers all over again from scratch. Alright, so now all the bowling pins have been set. Jack, I'm on my way. Jack is a no BS young entrepreneur who has amassed nearly 100,000 followers on his TikTok account and 8,000 on Instagram, where he gives straight to the point business advice, as well as recently even carving his quote, "Stay loyal to your goals and they'll stay loyal to you," into his Porsche. So quite a character.
So have you had it all repaired now then?
He's in there now. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So I'm driving the 4x4 at the minute.
Jack, what's your age and what do you do?
So I'm 19 years old, or 19 years young, and I do Amazon FBA. It's a business that you can get into at a very entry level. You can, you don't need too much money for it, and the numbers you can build up with a lot of effort and determination are very impressive.
So what inspired someone of your age to get into this and be an entrepreneur?
I tried out full-time work. Personally, I didn't think it was for me. A lot of people, are better at it. For me, I don't fit the norm. People thoroughly believe that the way to get rich is to work, put money into a pension, and when you're 60, you've got £1 million. And I don't want that, and that's not the road I'm taking. If that's what people want, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's not the path I'm taking. I want it sooner, so I will get it sooner. If that makes sense, and it's possible.
So if I can be a bit cheeky, what are your numbers?
So first year we did around 150,000 pounds.
Excellent.
This year, the last 12 months, we're pushing on nigh on 200,000 pounds.
That's a working business, isn't it? That's good. So for someone watching this video, what do they need to invest into this to really get going?
I always recommend £1,500, which, as you know, is a very entry-level amount of money to start a business, especially a retail business. What that'll get you is good software that you need for Amazon selling. It will pay for your first amounts of stock. You don't need a certain amount of money for stock. You can start with £100 and you can make your money on that, or you can start with £1,000. It is just a case of ratios, and scaling it up. Just please think of it as an investment in yourself. Yeah, don't expect that money to come back very soon. It's not going to start paying you soon. It's a long-term game. But for long-term gain. And
at what point do you work out that you can quit your side, quit it as a side hustle and make it your main business? Where do you think that breakover point is?
I'd say 3 solid months. That's what I was so, I remember speaking to my dad and I said, "Dad, I'm going to quit. I had one good day. I think we did like £800 in profit. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. No. He said, if you want to do that, he said, you need to make sure your business is going to support you. So I waited 3 months for 3 good months of sales, where it was, doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times what I'd earn at a job. And then I was like, okay, that's time. It's definitely not something that should be rushed into.
So I've always seen drop shipping and FBA really is just a stepping stone, just a starter type business. Can you persuade me otherwise?
I see massive longevity, not with what I'm doing now. What I find is this is the cash cow. So it's building up the cash for what I want to do, which is private label. You're building a story, you're providing top quality products where you can control the quality of the product, the packaging, the branding, the customer relation, with nice cards and appreciation, stuff like that, which is huge because what you've then got, if you've got an established brand on Amazon, you're not just getting money from sales, your brand is being featured on the most visited website on the planet. Bar Google, which they'd find it on anyway. Private label, you're creating a sellable asset, a long-term business that is gonna keep ticking over. If you boost it to the first page and you keep ads on it, that product is gonna make you money for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, however long you keep it there for.
And how do you go about finding your products? Because a lot of people will write to me and they say, how can I find that niche product? And how long does it take you as well?
It could take me 20 minutes. It could take me 15 minutes.
20 minutes,
5
that's
minutes.
impressive.
Yeah, or it could take me 2, 3, 4 months.
Okay.
It is totally a case of sitting down there, how my mentality is going towards it. I think, finding that key product is tough. However, they all have an expiration date. For sure. It's not, you will never ride off just one product. You need to keep on pushing and keep on finding more. But for me, it is a case of sitting down in my zone and I will not get off my desk until I find one. I'll be picking up the phone quite a lot. Dealing with a lot of rejection, how old are you? I'm 19. How old's your business? Well, just over a year. The second it's a no or the second it's showing that it's not happening, just phone down onto the next, really detach emotions from it. Yes, it's the constant contact, speaking to people and the networking as well. The networking's huge, like meeting people who know other people or companies, just getting in touch with them, going around. There's so many roundabouts, but it is about going over them and going around them and not being scared to do so. But it is hard work.
So obviously Amazon take quite a cut out of this from you. So is that a set percentage on every item you sell, or is that a variable percentage?
It varies a lot on size and weight as well. So something, for example, a pen, they're not going to charge you very high fees on. That's probably about the lowest band of fees. So it depends on the weight and the size and how much it's going to cost them to ship it and move it around.
Say you've sent a lot of product to Amazon and it's not selling. How do you handle that situation?
I've had two types of products, that have just been a loss. I've had to accept that they're just doing nothing. That was t-shirts, and there were these, they were called Juicy Lucy picture frames, basically. They didn't go well at all. They were not as anticipated, and it was a bit of a kick. You know, it's a lot of money to expect to lose. That's my instant, oh, it's not working, damn it. What I did was I put ads on them, which I don't usually do, which I kind of stay away from, because then when you start doing ads, it cuts your margins, and that would have been my profit. So it'd work out that actually I'm doing that, and I'm making no profit. But then I sat back and thought, that's amazing. How wonderful is that? Because at first I was beating myself up. Why did I do that? How did I get the product wrong? Then I'm like, hang on. I tried it out. It didn't work. Did I lose it? No. Did I get my money back? Yes.
And learned a lesson.
And learned a lesson and took lesson from that. So I think to myself, for me going forward, I don't see much.
I was earning less than $2 an hour, working day and night just to make ends meet. I wanted to be rich so badly, but felt like it was never going to happen to me. Little did I know, there were some clear signs that I was going to become rich, and I've seen this time and time again over the years when helping others achieve their goals. In the past, I've used these signs as a little checklist to see if it's worth mentoring someone. So grab a pen and paper and let's see how many you have. Let me know in the comments if you check all 7. Number 1, you know that the phrase, money won't fix your problems, is a load of rubbish. There's nothing worse than someone rich saying, money won't fix your problems. Trust me, I've been there. You see, I believe there are 2 different types of problems we all face. The first type is your basic needs. These are things like water, housing, healthcare and food. Now, if you're facing the first type of problems, then the answer to all of these is clear. You need to earn more money. Everything you're stressing about can be solved with more money. When you fix the basic needs, your focus shifts onto type 2, which is the abstract problems. These are things money definitely can't fix, such as love, happiness and fulfillment. For me, that's always been about spending time with my family, enjoying my hobbies, my interests, and running a business that I'm truly passionate about. So you can definitely be broke but happy. You can also be rich but sad. However, wouldn't you prefer to be rich and happy? The puppet masters have brainwashed everyday people into believing that they don't actually want money, all while they trade years of their life working a job they hate for a tiny salary. If I see that someone actually buys into the thinking that money isn't desirable, then I can't see how they're ever going to make enough to be rich. Even when I was completely broke, I didn't ever think this way. If you're able to ignore all of this, then you're on the right track. Number 2, when you see an obstacle, you overcome it. Successful people focus on the opportunities rather than the things holding them back. Now is one of the best times to start a new side hustle, as there are so many different industries booming online. Let's say you have the most amazing business idea that has the potential to make you millions of dollars, but you never act on it because too many things are standing in your way. How much is that idea actually worth to you? Well, the answer is absolutely nothing if you're not going to work on it. Have you ever chatted with a friend and they say, you know what, I've got the best business idea in the world. They're extremely motivated, certain that this will make them richer than rich itself. You then meet up with them 6 months later down the line and you ask them, how's everything going? And you're really excited for them. Oh, I haven't started yet. And the reason is, oh, because the government, my job, the economy. They've got excuse after excuse. The list goes on and on. When most people see a problem, they say it's bad luck. They quit and they stop trying. When rich people run into problems, they might scratch their heads for a while, but they don't give up. They strike when they have the most passion and the most motivation. The longer you leave an idea stuck up here in your head, the longer you'll have time to convince yourself that it'll never work. So if you're the type to just get going and sort the problems as you go, then there's a high chance you'll become rich. Number 3, you prioritize buying assets when possible. When was the last time you thought about buying something and took the time to decide if the item was going to help bring money into your life or drain money away from your life? We're constantly living on a seesaw. On one side, you've got fancy cars, designer clothes, and unnecessary gadgets. On the other side, we've got rental properties, watches, and stocks. By taking advantage of when the economy is on its knees and buying up lots of long-term assets, you could easily set yourself up financially for the rest of your life. The first $100,000 is the hardest money you'll ever earn. The truth is that getting your money to work for you and not the other way around is the only way to achieve real long-term wealth. I'm sure you've heard this before. However, I know that sometimes it can feel less scary just letting your money sit in a savings account rather than investing it elsewhere. If this is how you feel, then money market funds might be a good option for you. They normally have better interest rates than savings accounts while not being as risky as investing in stocks. Instead, these money market funds invest in high quality, short-term debt from governments, banks or corporations. I like investing some of my money in these funds on Lightyear because I can easily draw it out when I need to rather than having to worry about the ups and downs of the stock market. The interest, otherwise known as the yield, is paid into my account on the first of every month. However, the interest amount does change daily, so it's not super predictable, just like the British weather. You can do the same if you live in the UK or one of these countries, because on apps like the one I just mentioned called Lightyear, you have access to AAA rated BlackRock money market funds and can start investing from just £1, euro or dollar. So if this interests you, feel free to use my code Tilbury to get a free $10 fractional share when you sign up for Lightyear. Using this affiliate link and code is also a great way to support this channel, as I'm able to put the commissions we receive into creating more videos. And let me remind you, investing always carries a risk, and the value of any investment can decrease as well as increase, so be sure to invest wisely and do your research. Number 4, you know there is so much more to learn. How many people do you know that when they have a couple of days off or during the evening spend all their spare time playing video games and watching Netflix? I'm willing to bet quite a few. Look, there is nothing wrong with binging a TV series once in a while. I'm talking about the people that don't watch or read anything educational. They falsely believe that education stops when you leave school. To be honest, these people are extremely arrogant and they don't know it. They think getting rich is down to luck, because they haven't learned enough to spot the strategic steps that every self-made millionaire takes. They would rather critique others and then escape to a fantasy land where they don't have to think about their problems. But you know what?